President, please be seated. The court is now back in session. We would like to now give the floor to Judge Lavigne to continue putting questions to the witness.
Oui, merci, Monsieur le Président.
Thank you, Mr. President. I would like to provide some clarifications in answer to the remarks of the defense regarding the use of confessions of S-21 detainees. Let me point out that the Chamber has not changed its decision regarding the fact that the contents of such documents are still forbidden. But the questions that I asked were not based on the contents of those confessions, but on sources other than those in the confessions. Notably, the fact that Mr. Koi Tuon had links with Sector 106. Let me cite document E3232, titled in French, Record of the Working Meeting of March 1976. In English, Minutes of Meeting of Base Work. And the Khmer reference is 00017 116 to 123. The French ERN is 0032 3932 2 0032 3936, and in English it is 00182628 and up to 31. This is a meeting which involved the following participants: Comrade Secretary, Comrade Deputy Secretary, Comrade M, Comrade Dunn, Comrade Sreng, Comrade Hang, Comrade Sot, Comrade Touch. So we can suppose that they include all except Koi Tuon. The agenda is the election of the 20th of March 1976, and also the situation in the North Zone, and sectors 106 and 103. Let me state to all intents and purposes that Koi Tuon was arrested, as were all the other participants, with the exception of Pol Pot, Nunchia, and Kyo Sampan. And Comrade Un, who was in charge of Sector 103, was arrested. Comrade Sot, alias Papal, or Pafal, was arrested, and the same applies to the others. Let me point out that Mr. Kyo Sampan attended that meeting, and the officials were called upon to report permanently to the standing committee of the situation on the ground, whether we're talking of the general situation in each of the sectors. And they had to give reports by telegrams in order that the committee, or the standing committee, would take the necessary decisions. Having said this, Mr. President, I have no further questions for the witness, and I thank the witness for his participation in this examination.
The President, thank you, Judge Lavigne. Mr. Mi Woon, do you have any problems you wish to tell the Chamber? Mr. Mi Woon, I do not have any problem. I don't know. The President, since you have no problem, we can still continue the examination, and we would like now to proceed to counsels for Mr. Nguyen Chie to pose questions to Mr. Ms. Nguyen should they wish to do so. Counsel Sonarun. Good afternoon, Your Honors, Mr. President, and good afternoon, Mr. Ms. Nguyen. First and foremost, I have some questions, follow-up questions. The questions are about the structure, questions that were put by the co-investigating judges already, but I am still not very clear as to the precise structure, military structure. Can you please tell the chamber, in 1970, you said you were 18 years old and you joined the army. At that time, you were asked to attend military trainings to learn the skills to become a soldier. As a military trainee, as others, can you tell the chamber, please, the structure of the military? And I may wish to emphasize that when I talk about the military structure, I am referring to the hierarchical structure of the military from the very lowest level to the highest level. But please tell the chamber precisely the exact structure as you learned during that training. Response. Allow me to elaborate on the new structure of the military. First, they call them the squad, or rather a group of 12 people. Yeah, that's a squad or team containing 12 people. Then there's a platoon that comprised of 3 groups or 3 squads. Question, you said a group that composed of 3 team is a platoon. Is that correct? Response. Yes, it is. A platoon consists of 3 squads, and then after the platoon there is a company. The company composed of 3 platoons. And then 3 companies make a battalion. Three battalions then make a brigade, rather a regiment. And 3 regiments combined, we have a brigade. And in the brigade there is a special regiment, or rather a special battalion, correction. And finally, 3 brigades altogether combined makes a division. There were also other units within that structure. We have the arsenal unit, we have the special unit for both under the direct supervision of the division and brigades. So I can say that to understand the structure of the military, you can start from the 12-member team, then have them multiplied by 3, you will get a higher unit, then keep multiplying by 3 and 3 and 3, then finally you got the division. And some people died during the war or the fighting, so the number of the exact number of soldiers may vary from time to time in each unit. Counsel, thank you, Mr. Witness. Can you also please clarify how many people were in the brigade? And in this, I'm talking about the exact structure as what you understood during the training. So in your opinion, as what you learned, how many people, how many soldiers were in a brigade? Response, there were no more than 3,000 people in average. Question, what about the number of people in the regiment? There were no more than 600 people in that unit. Question, thank you. In the statement you made before the co-investigating judges, document E3424/424, you indicated you joined the revolution in 1970 when you were about 18 years old, and you joined the youth group to fight to free the country from French, from the colonialism and from the imperialism. At the same time, you became a bodyguard and escort of the cadres. Now, can you explain to the chamber, please, when you say that you joined the Patriotic Youth League in struggling to liberate the country from colonization and capitalism. Are you referring to people or countries when you mentioned about these? Response. When I said we had to fight to liberate the country from French colonization, indeed it referred to the French colony, because French had been in Cambodia for almost a century, and when the French left, we still felt that French influence was still there. And for example, a factory, the soft drink factory or the plantations were all under the control of the French people, and Cambodian people did not have any authority to control the French, and they were, of course, controlled by the French. So this I refer to the French colonization. And when it comes to the capitalism, I may explain to you that this has to do with the exchange of commodities from one country to another. And in the exchange of commodities, we noted that when the goods or products or produce were purchased from the people, they were purchased at a lower price. Then when they were sold back to us, they sold them at a higher price. So Cambodian people suffered greatly, and we did not have any power to control or to contest such ordeal. And indeed, we did not have power to control the trading. So this is part of the economy, and that and our struggle to liberate the country from feudalism was also the same cause, because our people did not enjoy the right to go about their normal businesses. Council, thank you. When you joined the resistance movement, you were 18 years old. And just now, you explained to the chamber about the terms colonization and capitalism or feudalism. Did you explain to the chamber about these terms based on your lessons learned during that time, or you refer to any particular documents as your reference for your explanation? Response: I knew about the national affairs. I learned from the intellectuals who shared these thoughts to me. I learned from Mr. Hu Num, and I also learned from other people, intellectuals, whom I don't recall the names, who taught me about this. And I still recall another teacher by the name of Ta Krun, who taught me about the country. So I learned from senior people, from the intellectuals, and that during that time I did not attend any proper school. I learned under the trees in the jungle in 1970s, and when I was 18, it was not in 1970, it was in 1968 when I was about 18. So by the year of 1970, I was no longer 18. I could have been older than that. I hope I have answered your question concerning how I learned about this to explain to the chamber. I learned from the nationalists and intellectuals. Council, thank you very much. On the 17th of April 1975, you were in Division 1 and you helped Tassoon with his tasks. And you were the commander of the regiment. Is that correct? Regiment 136 under division number 1. Is that account correct? If it's not correct, then please correct me. Response: I worked at regiment 16. When it was at the battalion, it was 136, but the regiment was regiment 16. Council, thank you. At that time, the Khmer Rouge soldiers decided to attack Phnom Penh. When attacking Phnom Penh, you were in charge of Regiment 16. And according to the document, only one division or Division 1 attacked Phnom Penh from the Po Chen Tong, O Back Arm, and Steng Min Chey direction. Is that correct? Response: yes, it is. Question: under the same document E3/424, with regard to the second response, you say that you worked as a soldier and you were asked to attack Phnom Penh. But before you attacked Phnom Penh, were you informed of the plan to evacuate the city of Phnom Penh? To evacuate the population of Phnom Penh city? Response: no, I wasn't informed. Question: before attacking Phnom Penh, the spearheads in the west or the southwest, there were meetings with Son Sen and Nuon Chea, and that commanders of all divisions were asked to convene the meeting, and the minutes of the meeting were distributed to the heads of regiments, including your regiment, and the plan was to liberate Phnom Penh by the 17th of April, before the 17th of April 1975. However, Phnom Penh was liberated on the 17th of April. The army who were tasked to open attacks into Phnom Penh was strictly instructed by the upper echelon not to counterattack the enemy who raised white flag, to accept their defeat, nor touch belongings and property in the city. Apart from this order, do you still remember if there was any other orders at all?
Bad.
Response. No, there were no further instructions for my side. Questioned. In the same answer and question reply, the questioned that you had a meeting with the General Staff chaired by Son Sen and Noon Chia with all the division commanders from all zones. So you knew that Son Sen and Noon Chia were part of the General Staff. How did you acquire that knowledge? Response. Because I was the deputy, I received orders from my commander, Ta Seung. And of course, Ta Seung attended the meeting so that he learned of the plan, and then he disseminated that information to me, and I relayed that to my subordinates within my regiment. Questioned. Did Ta Seung clearly tell you that the General Staff hate Son Sen and Noon Chia, or Son Sen and Tamok? Response. He did not tell me the names that Son Sen or Noon Chia, but he said that he had a meeting with the General Staff, although he did not mention the names of the people at the General Staff when he learned of the plans to attack. And he realized that information that we had to plan for the attack in that so-called battlefield 940, that is the name of the battle, to attack on Phnom Penh and to gain the victory on the 18th of April. So he only told us about the plan to attack, but not the names of those at the General Staff. And I received that order and plan from Ta Seung. Thank you. You said that you did not know what the General Staff was or who were at the General Staff. But in that written record of interview with the co-investigating judges, you said that the General Staff, such as Son Sen and Noon Chia, how could you make such a response or assertion? President, witness, please wait. Prosecutor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. It might be a translation issue, but as it came through in English, it sounded like my learned friend mischaracterized the witness's evidence. He suggested that the witness had said that he didn't know who was on the General Staff, whereas in fact the witness had simply said that Ta Seung had not mentioned any names. It's a subtle difference, but it's an important difference. The witness did not say that he did not know who was on the General Staff.
Son Arun. In your statement with the OCIJ, that is E3/424, in question answer number 3, you clearly stated that before attacking into Phnom Penh, commanders of the military from the eastern and southwestern zones and so on attended the meeting with the general staff such as Ta Son Sen and Ta Nun Chi, who conducted a meeting with the division commanders from all zones, who then conducted further meeting to disseminate the information. And then I asked a supplementary question. As you knew about the general staff, but you did not know who belongs to the general staff. Once again, my question to you is, how did you learn that Son Sen and Nun Chia participated in that meeting with the general staff? And why in that statement you mention the name, the two names, that is Son Sen and Nun Chia? Response. I learned of the names of these two after the liberation. That I learned that the general staff comprised of Son Sen and Tam Mok, but I did not have that knowledge before the liberation. During that meeting, when I received orders from the division commanders received information from the upper echelon, that is from the general staff, but he did not mention the names of the general staff. Question. So, does it mean that in your statement before the co-investigating judges that you said Son Sen and Nun Chia, as stated in the transcript, do you still stand by that statement or you wish to strike it out? Response. It should be removed because I learned that Son Sen was the general staff after the liberation, but during the war I did not have such information. But at that time, my commander did not tell me the names of the general staff. He only told me about the plans to attack and not to retreat at any cost. Question. Allow me to reconfirm your statement that in your statements before the co-investigating judges that there was a name of Nun Chia, that you did not mention that name before the co-investigating judges. Is that correct, or you wish to make any further amendment? Or alternatively, it means that you do not stand by your statement and that you wish to remove the names from the record? President, Mr. Witness, could you please read the document E3/424 at your response to question number 3? Court officer, could you assist the witness? And witness, please read that question and response carefully, as you may get confused by the questions put to you by the counsel. Counsel, Mr. Witness, would you like me to read it to you, or have you read that question and answer session? witness. I would like to strike out the names Son Sen and Noon Chia. I do not know whether there is a mistake in this question and answer session. Thank you, says the counsel. Let me go through another question. Did you know about the attack target from the west that is presently known as a Coxrow area? Which division was in charge of that spearhead of attacking from the west direction? Do you know which division was in charge in that direction? Response. From the Coxrow Pagoda, there was part of Division 1 forces. Questioned. Was other parts of other division taking part in that attack, in that from that western direction? Response. Another part was a division from the north, but I cannot recall the designated number of that division. You was in charge of a regiment during the attack on Phnom Penh. Did you issue direct orders for the attack? And did you issue such order as you relay it from the general staff or from the division commander? Response. I received the order from the division. Question. Did you know, however, whether all the military attacks from all those directions, were you aware as which division was in charge of which spearhead, or were you aware only the spearhead, your own spearhead, during that attack? Response. I knew that from the west there was the forces from Division 1. As toward the east there was those North Division, and further north, further east, there was another force, but I could not know the number, but they were the division from the east. And there was a special division as well, but I could not recall the designated number of that division. Questioned in your statement before the co-investigating judges that the instruction from the general staff was to attack and completely liberate Phnom Penh on the 18th April 1975. But for some reason, due to the advancement, the attack was done and the liberation was one day ahead. Can you tell us why it was liberated on the 17th April 1975 rather than on the designated day of the 18th April 1975? Response. During the plan to attack and to liberate on the 18th of April 1975, it was the instruction relayed from the division. However, it was liberated on the 17th April 1975, and we was informed by the division that the enemy had been defeated earlier, and as they lost their battle spirit, so we advanced rather quickly toward Phnom Penh. And as we were told by the division that the enemy lost their spirit of battle, we made our attacks promptly and we won the victory on the 17th of April 1975. Question. I have another question for you, and if you do not know the response to this question, please state so. The reason for the 1 day earlier victory, were you informed by the General Staff or by the division that there was a negotiation between the Lone Nol soldiers and the Khmer Rouge forces? Response. No, I was not aware of that. Thank you. Question. In that in document E3/73 in question and answer number 6, that there was a meeting in March 1976 organized by Ta Chu Chiet at Chba Mon in the West Zone, that is in Kampong Speu. And also there was a meeting held in Kampong Chnang. At that time, there was a Nun Chia or Pol Pot. My question is the following. Did you attend a meeting held in Kampong Chnang, that is in Long Vec, or at Chba Mon? Response. Yes, I did. But I attended the meeting in Kampong Speu, that is at Tasi's place, but I did not stay until the conclusion of the meeting, as Tasung instructed me to return to the battlefield due to the change situation. Questions. So you mentioned that you attended a meeting in Chba Mon district in Kampong Speu. Is that correct? Response. Yes. Question. What about the meeting held in Long Vec in Kampong Chnang? Did you attend that meeting? Response. Yes, I did. Question. If you attended the meetings at the two locations, are you sure that it was under the chairmanship of Nun Chi or Pol Pot? Response. At that time, I saw Pol Pot, who led the meeting, and Tasi, he chaired the meeting. I did not see Noon Chea there. Question. So it means that the two meetings were not attended by Noon Chea, but it was Pol Pot. Is this correct? Response. Yes, that is correct. Question. So in your statement that it was Noon Chea or Pol Pot chaired the meeting, do you still stand by that statement or you wish to remove it? Response. At that time, Seung told me that Noon Chea also came, but because I did not see him, so I said so. However, as for Pol Pot and the Sea and another person, Pao, I saw them attending the meeting. As for Noon Chea, I personally did not see him. I was not sure whether he was present or not, but I did not see him back then. So for that reason, I wish to remove his name. Thank you. Let me continue to another question. President, the prosecutor, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. I raise now in between two questions because there's a procedure that my friend is following that is not appropriate in our submission. It is not appropriate to ask a witness whether or not he wishes to remove something from his or her statement. That's not a procedure available at this court. A witness can be asked if a prior statement is correct and he or she can be asked to clarify. But the witness should not be asked whether he wishes to remove something from his statement. That procedure does not exist.
Counsel Sonaran, allow me to respond to the prosecution. This statement has been used by the prosecution and by various parties, and there had been no objection from the prosecution. The witness has the right to remove or to distract part of his record or statement. President Michael Canavas, you may proceed.
Thank you, Mr. President. Since this issue may affect us as well, I wish to comment. I think that the prosecution is incorrect. The gentleman is perfectly capable of saying that the statement, the summary that is, does not reflect what he said at the time, and therefore he disavows what is in the statement itself. I think that's what the gentleman from the Noon Chea team is attempting to do. Perhaps he's using the wrong terminology, such as striking, but I think the purpose is that the gentleman wishes to withdraw that from the statement. He does not stand behind that statement that's in the summary, and I think that that is the correct approach to take. Thank you.
Mr. President, I fully support the position by the two defense teams. The witness has his right to withdraw his statement where he thinks is incorrect. Both the statements before the co-investigating judges or his statement are not the verbatim record. It was a summary by the investigators. For that reason, there could be mistakes. So the witness has the right to withdraw the points that he thinks are inappropriate. President, Defense Counsel for Kieu Sampon. You said you support the two positions by the two defense teams, but in fact, even in the Khmer language, the words the two defense teams use are far from one another. One is to remove the statement or the portion of the statement, and one is of the inconsistent statement made by the witness. These are two distinctive features even in the Khmer language, as it is also related to the procedural matter. So once again, you said you are on your feet to support the position by the two defense teams. Is it in your mind that you think they both have the same idea and notion? Thank you, Mr. President, says the Council. In fact, the withdrawal of a statement could be in whole if it is wholly inappropriate. However, the removal or the striking out portion of the statement is the right of the witness. Thank you. President, the National Lead Co-Lawyer for Civil Parties, you may proceed. Big on, Mr. President. I apologize that I stand on my feet after the defense already made their points. The written record of interview of this witness, in fact, had been read back through the witness, and he confirms its accuracy. So the parties here have the right to question him on points from the statements, and if his response is either consistent or otherwise, the witness himself cannot withdraw such a statement, as the witness already provided a thumbprint to the statement, and we also allow ourselves to hear the opinion of the witness during his response, and of course it is entirely up to the discretion of the bench to consider whether the previous statement or the current statement is appropriate and correct. President, Judge Cartwright, please proceed.
Thank you, President. After a brief deliberation, the Chamber agrees that there is no procedure available for striking a statement from the record of made by the co-investigating judge. However, we take into account the oral testimony of this witness in weighing, in placing such weight as we think appropriate on his evidence in reaching our verdict. Was there anything else you wished to add to that statement, President?
No, Judge Cartwright. Counsel Sonaron, you may proceed. Sonaron, thank you, Mr. President. I'll continue with my questions. In your document E3/4 through 4, in question answer number 1, before the co-investigating judges, you said that in 1970 you joined in 71 you joined or you became a soldier until April 1975. During that period, did you learn of the name Noon Chia? Response: I learned of his name in 1975. Question: you heard of his name. Did you ever meet him in person? Or did you communicate with him via letter or mails? Response: no. Question: so you did not know Noon Chia well, you only learned of his names through other people. Is that correct? Response: no, not through any other people, it was through my division. Thank you. Question: during the attack on Phnom Penh, there was a communication between one division to another, and from the division to the lower level, that is from the division to the regiment. How did divisions communicate with one another?
Response: between battles, from one regiment to from one regiment to another, we had to communicate, and we would meet at the battle line, and we would identify the area of our supervision, from which area could be controlled by any particular regiment, and then we had some focal persons to communicate the messages. People did not stay far away from one another. We were close, like the sitting arrangement here, so we could communicate. Council, thank you, Mr. President. I have a few more questions, about 5 to 6 questions, but it is already 4 o'clock. I don't know whether I should finish the questions or I should wait until tomorrow to put the rest of the questions. The President, thank you, Council. It is indeed appropriate time for today's adjournment. We will adjourn now, and the next session will be resumed by 9 a.m. tomorrow. During tomorrow's sessions, the Chamber continue to hear the testimony of Mr. Witness. Questions continue to be put by Counsel for Nuon Chea and other two defense teams. Mr. Mies Wuen, your testimony has not yet been concluded, and the Chamber would like you to come back tomorrow to give the testimony from 9 a.m. Jury counsel is also invited to return to the courtroom to assist Mr. Witness for tomorrow's sessions. Court officer is now instructed to ensure that the witness is properly accommodated and that he is returned to the courtroom by 9 a.m. Security personnel are now instructed to bring Mr. Nuon Chea and Khieu Samphan to the detention facility and have them returned to the courtroom by 9 a.m. tomorrow. The court is adjourned.